When Christian von Koenigsegg cooks something up, you know it's important to pay attention. Today, we're at the Gripen Atelier in Angelholm, Sweden, for a first look at their wildest megacar yet, the new Koenigsegg Sadairs' Spear. Who better then to show us around than CvK himself as we go through all of the details. There's more aero and downforce, plenty of engineering elements to marvel at, and as with all Koenigsegg cars, it's built as if the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel. Let's get straight into it and check out the new Koenigsegg Sadairs' Spear. Good morning from Angelholm, Sweden, the hometown of Koenigsegg. Behind me is the new factory and we're going to be heading inside in a moment. But before we do, on the helipad here is a Koenigsegg CC850. In fact, the last time I was here a few years ago, I caught up with Christian von Koenigsegg just over there in front of what was the original factory. The company now over 30 years old, and over that time I've been to visit many different times to see different things. But last time out, this was in the early stages of construction, the new Gripen Atelier. Inside, not only do you have the showroom and the customer lounge, but also the event studio, which is where we are going right now to go take a look at this new car. This is spectacular. The new showroom here, where we're greeted by the Koenigsegg Gemera, the world's fastest four-seater, doing it in style with the evolution of the V8 engine. But I want to take you to go see the car that we have come to check out. Come with me. Oh, wow, this is every bit as impressive as I had expected it to be. Come on through to take a look then for the first time at the new Koenigsegg Sadairs' Spear. Now in a moment, we are going to be joined by Christian von Koenigsegg to show us all of the details of this unbelievable new machine. But I think before we do that, let's rewind a little bit, some of the history that got to this point. Koenigsegg is the story of a dream turned reality. Founded in 1994 by then 22-year-old Christian von Koenigsegg with a bold goal to build the world's greatest performance car. The early models quickly evolved to the CC8S, production ready and a disruptor of the supercar world. Quickly on its heels came the evolution of the CC series with the CCR next, one of which I drove on a road trip from the UK here to the factory many years ago. Next came the CCX, again upping the stakes with all the drama that you could dream of, before the CCXR landed as the flagship and final model before the game would move on. Enter Agera, and the result of Koenigsegg continuing to push before quickly spawning the Agera R that really pushed forward the global hypercar segment, before then one of my favourite cars of all time, the Koenigsegg 1-to-1, the first production car to reach the then mythical 1 horsepower to 1 kilogram target, and produced in a limited run of only 6 customer cars, plus the one factory prototype that even offered memories on this channel that will never be forgotten. There have been other models like Regera with its mind-boggling technology that features a direct drive system with no gearbox or shifting at all, and then more recently also Gemera, the fastest four-seater the planet has ever seen, while the TFG tiny friendly giant 3-cylinder has been replaced by the significantly more potent V8. The result is something absurd. But that's not all, because it was back in 2019 that the covers were pulled back from Jesko, named in honour of the 80th birthday of Jesko von Koenigsegg, Christian's father, and in performance terms, a car that was designed to bend physics with 1,600 horsepower and a gearbox unlike anything else on the road. Koenigsegg's statement that the pursuit of performance never stops could not be better demonstrated than by looking at their own history of these cars. But now it's time for a new chapter. Christian, here we are. You've done it again.
Thank you. Yes, it was a bit of an effort to get here, but very proud of the result.
I mean, this is a car, we're talking about the story, right? The Jesko, of course, being with your team back at Geneva when you presented it and seeing the look on your father's face. This is a continuation of that. Tell us a little bit about the story behind this car.
The story goes on, exactly. So we're now coming near the end of the Jesko production, and it has been a very well-received and beloved product range. And we felt there's a last hurrah in the story. And technology has moved on since we introduced the Jesko as a show car in 2019 and as a production car delivery in 2023. There are still things happening every year, and for example, tire technology. So here we have now a slightly bigger tire with a higher load rating with a new compound. And actually, when we think about it deeply, we sort of, in the end, design the car to what the tire can do. How much downforce can the tire take? How much lateral grip? What's the heat rating? How much heat can you put into it? And suddenly there was this tire that had a high rating for all of these things. More downforce allowed, and more energy can be put through the compound to the ground. And then we said, okay, knowing that, can we fit it on a sort of a Jesko platform and take it to the next level and make a last hurrah? And what should it be? And to us, it's very important that every model and special edition, and we only do limited editions, have meaning. It should not just be another one. It should have a meaning. So then we had the story of Jesko's last race as a gentleman jockey in 1976, before he put his gear on the shelf and stopped doing that, and tying that into the end of the Jesko car era. And the horse's name that he rode on was Sadairs' Spear. Kind of weird name, but a pretty funky and cool name, we thought. So to celebrate his last racing effort, we said, let's make the most track-focused, racing-inspired version of this platform we ever can, based on the new tire technology. So everything we have changed has to do with that.
It's amazing to hear. I love a story behind a car, even the livery, which we'll get to, the colorway and details. So shall we take a little walk around? Start talking about design, aero, what's evolved, what's changed. You can see immediately the new dive planes.
Right.
Perhaps you can talk us through the extra downforce.
Absolutely. So what you don't see at first glance is what's going on underneath the car. The Jesko has strakes underneath the car leading air from the front out to the sides. And we have a similarly sized front splitter, which is very, very big on both cars. But given that we now are allowed to have more downforce, we increase the length of those strakes, and we increase these dive planes massively. And the size of these dive planes is not only to create more downforce, because they create a different type of vortice that allows more air to enter into the intercooler areas. It's 30% more airflow going into the side radiators as a result. So more downforce, more cooling. Because when you have more grip, you can also put down more power. So increasing cooling and air intakes for the engine meant we could take out a bit more power from the same platform. So it's not a huge gain. We bumped it up 25 horsepower on both E10 and E85. You have those two choices. So 1300 on E10 and 1625 on E85. In the front here we have the exit for the engine coolant radiator, and that is increased in size, but it also has this kind of gurney flap shape here to extract even more air. Two benefits: more cooling for the added power and for the extended use on track, and more downforce. Taking air from here and sending up here gives downforce. This is an interesting little thing. It's a NACA duct looking quite sporty, I guess. That was not maybe entirely needed for performance, but it adds performance in a strange way. So it offloads the workload of the HVAC. It's force feeding the HVAC with air, so you don't need to run the fan as hard, and you get more cooling with less AC, which gives more power and makes the driver feel better, so he can or she can drive faster with less energy consumed.
For sure. I was going to say, everything always has a reason, right? There's nothing is coincidental.
Right. We actually had to enlarge the wheel arch area here, so this lip here is a bit thinner to fit the taller tire and wider tire. We've gone from 265 to 275. That makes it also taller and wider. So we had to raise this area to actually fit the new wheel envelope movement, but also lifting this up a bit more also extracted more air. So more air extraction from the wheel area. You that are familiar with our older cars as well, you might remember the Agera R Vortex turbine-shaped wheels. Now we kind of celebrated those wheels here because they were meaningful. So we extract air from the brake disc and from underneath the car via these turbine blades. And as they are actually working, you need a unique one for front and left side of the car, so the blades are in the right direction, and there is a different wheel size on the rear. So we need 4 carbon fiber tools to make 4 wheels for the car, and 4 air core inserts and this and that, and only for 30 cars. So it's this massive effort to get to that point with air core, but it's worth it for brake cooling and for more downforce. Talking about brakes, we have a new multi-layered ceramic disc, which gives better initial bite for everyday driving, but also has more heat capabilities with the brake combined with the brake pad we can use for it. So with more grip, you want more braking capability, especially when you also have more power. So it all kind of has to go together.
A quick question about brakes.
Yes.
Offsetting calipers when they're positioned down from center like that, is that to do with lowering center of gravity? Is that?
Yes, it's a combination. So you can kind of read a bit of the caster angle as well, because you have a tilt on the upright for caster, which has to do with directional stability and feedback in the steering. But then it's pushed beyond the caster angle a bit more to have lower center of gravity. And it's on this side because it's more to the center of the car. You can see that the same on the rear, very much fallen down, center of gravity towards the center of the car. Again, for the exact same reason.
So with a little bit more power, more cooling towards the engine as well?
Exactly. So you have these new shrouds here, which increases the ram air effect. And this is part of gaining the extra 25 horsepower with the same engine, with the same turbos, in combination with the extra cooling, in combination with the extra airflow to the intercooler radiators. And this is an interesting thing here. On the Jesko, this is actually a wing leading air in here. But with this dive plane in the front, we got such a massive new directional force of the air that it sort of was more in the way. But we needed this plane to kind of stabilize the airflow, so we kept it for that reason. But then we used this opportunity to create an ornament of an arrow or a spear to celebrate that. But it kind of sits there because the Jesko needed it. This is still helpful, but we made it into a fun thing.
Absolutely.
Given the dive plane.
It all functions together.
Exactly.
And the rear spoiler obviously evolved from Jesko, where it had previously been mounted onto the rear deck, but
correct.
Even bigger.
Yes, so bigger and lighter.
Okay.
And in combination, it's about 1.5 kilo lighter, even though it's bigger. And you have this massive racing car-like side plates here. And you would see something of this nature on GT race cars or Formula 1 cars, where you actually want some bleed over in certain areas. So it's all coming through our supercomputer simulations and testing basically everything in this final shape. You have the elongated shape akin to the absolute. So the car is with the longer front splitter, similar to Jesko Attack with the longer rear. It's the longest of the platform. The longer rear end gives less drag and more downforce than the Jesko Attack in combination. So lighter, more downforce, less drag.
Quite the perfect combination, really.
It's great, yes, exactly. This is a fun little story. We wanted this vertical Chimsel third brake light. And there's actually, and this is kind of a generic shape. You would think you can buy that. On a low volume sports car, they tend to sometimes have generic small lamps to make life easier for low volume. But there was actually nothing to find that was standing up that was road legal. So we had to custom make that lamp even though it looks like something almost standard. And when you think about it, you don't find many sports cars with a vertical third brake light like that. So that was a little project in itself for the car.
I remember when you introduced Jesko, it was creating your own headlights and tail lamps for the first time, and that whole process. And
exactly.
It sounds trivial, but it's really not.
It's when you have to consider environmental testing, sand spray on the lens over time is actually a requirement. Then the climate inside the lamp, the cooling, and of course how it actually works as a lamp, and the production methodology, and it's a universe in itself, but I'm happy we went down the road because it gives us the flexibility when we design a car to make the lamp we want and not be restricted by that.
Has anything changed in terms of diffuser? Obviously the length.
The diffuser in itself is very similar, or it is similar. So this bottom part is very, very similar. That's not a big change there. So for extended track driving, as we increase the cooling for the engine in the front, for the intercoolers on the side, we also added an extra cooler here from this intake for the gearbox. So all the cooling capabilities has risen to the same new higher level given the higher performance. And that scoop, if you want even a more extreme look and even the more cooling and maximum cooling you can imagine, we have a version that you can choose where this scoop goes up all the way to the roof.
Okay.
So that's an option.
Always desirable. You just mentioned the gearbox, obviously Lightspeed transmission.
Yes.
Which is, in terms of technology, quite frankly, unbelievable. The way it effectively shifts from whatever gear you're in into the lowest possible gear instantly.
If you want. Yeah. You can have a U-pod, as we call it. You in the Jesko, you just push the lever on here, you just hold the paddle, and it just goes from 9th to 3rd, unless it over revs, then it doesn't do it, then it goes to 4th instead. So you have some rev range left, and it does it like this because all gears are pre-selected. Like on a DCT, you have one pre-selected gear from the gear you're in. It's either up or down, and the one next up or down. And if you choose the other direction, you have a slow shift. And if you want to jump 2 gears, that's not pre-selected. Then you have a slow shift, maybe even on the same shaft that you're on. So then it's like an AMT. Here we have a clutch for each gear. So all gears are therefore pre-selected. They have a clutch on them. So just smash in that clutch instead and open the other.
It still boggles my mind when you're in the car and you experience it. Yeah. So the gearbox, I guess, is largely unchanged. The engine, as you mentioned, a little bit more power. Any changes to dampers, triplex, suspension side?
Yes. So new damper bodies, new settings, new springs on the triplexes front and rear and on the shock absorbers. And new software tuning, new anti-roll bars. Everything is retuned.
So what we see here,
it looks similar.
It looks amazing as always, but it's also been...
And lightweight springs.
Okay.
It's a technology we're getting from Öhlins now where they have lighter springs.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're mixing in titanium or whatever they're doing, but saving a few kilos on springs, as we have quite a lot of springs.
So you've mentioned a number of different weight-saving elements as we've gone around the car.
Yes.
The total car must have shaved a decent
So
proportion.
even though we have more power, we have bigger tires, we haven't really lost anything. We've managed throughout the car, through more titanium bits and pieces, thinning some carbon fiber areas, lighter discs, lighter springs, removing the gear lever mechanism completely because this is a track focused car. Your hands are on the steering wheel. Like our earlier cars, you can put in reverse and driving everything through the steering wheel. No need for that really. Other for road use, it can be kind of convenient. So we saved weight there. So it's this weight saving exercise throughout. So more downforce, less drag, less weight, more grip, bigger brakes, less weight. In small increments.
But all of those add up, and if the Jesko wasn't...
in different directions.
If the Jesko wasn't fast enough already...
That's the thing. I mean, we've said to ourselves, how do we improve on this? It doesn't feel like we can make anything more extreme. Well, we have this tire. Okay, we're allowed to do this now. Okay, we do this, that, shave there. You can, when you are somewhere, you can always do that. And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
It's not a revolution, it's just a little bit like Porsche keeps on doing, I guess, right?
But in many ways, this reminds me a lot of the one-to-one.
Yes.
I felt like the one-to-one was such an incredible demonstration of what you could do with the Agera platform.
Exactly.
And this has gone in the same type of direction.
And today, I think, from my perspective, the one-to-one is very much a thing of its own due to the dedication we put in, even though it looks kind of similar.
Yeah.
It still stands out. And I think this is the same thing. It's like the envelope is pushed in every direction a little bit to just give that, wow, you could actually do a bit more of everything. And what's exciting is that when we compare lap times with the Jesko, with much more extreme road cars that, don't have sound insulation, don't have stereo systems, that are just like bare bone naked and no automated robotized bodywork and this and that. It's kind of on par with those. And now we've taken this up a notch, but we've still kept stereo, amplifier, electric seats, air conditioning, auto skin, robotized body. All the niceties are still here. And still we can compete or potentially beat these absolute track weapons, which is a testament to the effort of engineering in total. We always strive for sort of have the cake and eat it, which makes life super difficult.
Oh yes,
but that's an interesting challenge.
You launched this with quite the bang, setting a lap record out here in Sweden.
I mean, this track, Gotland Ring, why do we go there? So it is actually kind of a mini Nürburgring. It's jumping and flying and bumping, so it's good for an overall test and setup of the car. It's very private, and it's in Sweden. When we test a car like this and before it's launched, we want to keep it secret. So it's a little secret corner on an island with a kind of Nürburgring-like crazy track, but shorter. And there are some fast cars that have been there as a reference. So that's why we go there as a first thing for many of our cars nowadays. And it's proven when we set a record there, we usually can set records elsewhere.
Yep.
So that's why it's a good starting point.
It's a wonderful test bed. Changes to the interior. You mentioned gone is the shifter. You're now driving with the paddles.
Yes, if you look there, we have now the holder like on the Gemera in the center console instead. And then everything is controlled on the steering wheel and the paddles. On top of that, we have reworked the seats, and we now are allowed to put in 6-point harness, a little bit similar to the one-to-one, where you can fold this down elegantly. It's a little bit different padding. This upper area of the seat is reworked. You still have the three-point belt you can put in here. You can remove these and put them in this little cubby here.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's often something that doesn't happen, and then the seats end up clattering and making all sorts of noise.
And this you can snap off for helmet use.
Okay.
That's also new. Apart from that, it's not radically different. It's very similar.
I mean,
otherwise.
The way you had created for Jesko with the display on the steering wheel and all of this technology was so far ahead anyway. You're in a great place to...
Yeah, it still feels fresh enough. It's very useful. People were quite skeptical about this idea of the rotating digital dash. It actually works really, really well when you get used to it. I would say we get a lot of positive feedback. If you think about it, if you have a fixed dash up here and when you're doing this, people say, oh, you get maybe seasick when it's moving around. Well, at least you can always see it.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you don't see anything otherwise.
Yeah.
So when you get used to it, it is an upside.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so otherwise, of course, the Koenigsegg doors, robotized, a decent sound system. Of course, lightweight sound system, but still decent. And pretty straightforward. Apple CarPlay, of course.
Yeah.
Bird's eye view parking.
All the luxury technologies that normally get forgotten in such a car.
Exactly. Double wireless phone charging. Double on the passenger side. That we've had since the Regera days. But still. Detachable hardtop.
Oh, so you can still take the roof off?
Not store it though because of the air dam. So
you can take off the roof, leave that at home and enjoy all of this experience.
Exactly.
If you have the optional air snorkel over the top, can you still remove it?
We decided to stop it here.
Okay.
So, but on the one-to-one, we actually extended it up to the roof here.
Yes, I remember.
And you can still take off the roof of the one-to-one. So it needs to joint here then, but then you get rid of the nice glass of getting a little bit of sunlight into the otherwise low glassed cabin, so it's kind of a nice thing to get a little bit light in the car, we think so.
If you like this car, then you're going to like our platform, Exclusive Car Registry. It's the ultimate resource for Koenigsegg fans, with a complete database of all of the cars that have been delivered to date around the world. Whether you're into the earlier models and want to learn more about them, or perhaps the Jesko is more your thing and the crazy specs that customers are choosing. With a growing overview of the Attack and Absolute models that have been delivered, dive into the different specs and histories of these amazing cars. With Sadairs' Spear, you can bet that the 30 cars will be added to ECR over time, and maybe it will be you who gets that first spot, uploading it with a free account and being part of this amazing community that shares a passion for the world's rarest cars.
So for new regulation coming up, and especially in the US, this swept area of the glass is becoming more and more important. And we pioneered on road-going, hyper, mega cars, whatever, this straight-up windshield wiper, which is good for aero. We've had it for now 15 years or something like that. We used to have them lying down on the earlier cars, but we noticed that when they're standing up, well, you get better aero, and it's actually less in the way of the line of sight than it's lying down, because you're looking more down than in this vertical plane. And it gives a cool look. It looks like those old rally cars that used to have this.
And now almost a little like the halo on an F1 car.
Exactly. But only having one windshield wiper with a low center point on the windscreen and it's a screen that is very wide, you need to reach out very far to follow the rules, because it has to do with the size of your windscreen, how far you need to swipe out. So this is the biggest challenge you can have. And now we needed to come up with a mechanism, and we actually proudly have said before that one of the standard parts we have on the car is sort of the mechanism from a Mercedes windshield wiper, because it was just perfectly working. But now it doesn't anymore for the reach needs we have. So, and it was super difficult because we have this limited size package and we need to reach out to that corner. So we need to invent sort of a Swiss watch mechanism in there, which I cannot fully show yet because we're patenting it.
Okay.
So compared to its size here, compared to how short it can be, we have about 30% more reach out than anything ever before it.
Okay.
And it's full carbon fiber, and it's just a flexing blade, so it's very minimalistic as well. And of course, finished in KNC.
It's always amazing to think about every single detail, right? Whether it's that, whether it's maybe we can have a look under the front cam as well. Everything that goes into the car has to be thought about for weight, for performance.
You need to think about it from a 360-degree perspective. Manufacturing, looks, performance, aero, longevity, regulation, parts count. Everything.
So typically you would have a storage area in the front.
Correct.
And it wouldn't actually let you see so much of what's going on.
True. So yeah, here you can see the front triplex with the active bump and rebound on all elements, inboard damping, and air dam. So normally you would fit your roof here on the Absolute and previous cars. When you have less downforce, you don't need this triplex. But with this amount of downforce, you need to hold the car up. And it also gives more flexibility to tune the car for comfort when you're not hunkering down on a track, because then you can relieve this. So it's a clever system that works really, really well, but reduces the amount of storage space.
We mentioned that we'd come back to the livery side of things, because of course I remember very well that the white paint with the lime green accents were the launch colours of Jesko, but the history behind that, you have to tell us.
Yes, so this green has been following us for a while. When it comes to our cars, the first car we did in this green, Koenigsegg Racing Green, was a CCR back in 2005. And it comes from the Koenigsegg racing livery for, if you're a Koenigsegg person as a jockey, you have this green silk shirt with 2 white stripes on it. So that's where the Koenigsegg Racing Green comes from the livery of the jockey. And and we celebrate that here with the white and green, and we did that on the Jesko as well, because he was an amateur gentleman rider back in the day. And the last race he did, and the last hurrah of this range of Jesko-based cars, is the Sadairs' Spear. And the Sadairs' Spear was the last horse he ever raced in 1976. So we just named this paint, this brown horse colored paint, 76 brown, to celebrate. And of course the 70s was a lot of brown cars.
Absolutely. Well, it links back, and I'm always a big fan of that story. But I think it's interesting because, of course, if your customers have purchased a CC850, with that car you link back the specifications to the early CC8s.
Exactly.
And with
there were very few of them, so you can't choose many specifications.
For sure, but with this, imagination can run wild, right? I mean, looking at the nature of the designs, the liveries, the exposed carbons, you've always been pioneering even in that side of things, which often you might forget about while you're focused on technology.
Right, yes, true. And this Koenigsegg naked carbon fiber, as we see on the front splitter, and this metallic sheen it gives, and the cold to the touchness is still very unique to Koenigsegg. It's not any secret recipe, it's just a lot of hard work and very fine process and craftsmanship to make it happen. And of course you cannot cover it with anything, it's just straight out of the tool perfection with perfect craftsmanship on top. But it adds performance, because what do you do to the carbon fiber part? You remove material by wet sanding it and polishing it, not adding anything, so it becomes lighter and the surface becomes stronger because you're exposing the very strong carbon fiber itself. where we have a special resin that is super UV resistant, so you don't have that problem. And we started doing this on the Aircore wheels back in 2011 because we felt we don't want to have any clear coat or anything here for heat reasons and other reasons. And we said, let's just give it a shot. Let's create this special epoxy blend that can take the UV, and let's see if it works. No one has done it. And we put out parts in the yard for years. In the summer, in the snow, we kind of stepped on it, walked on it, laid it there forever. And then after 3-4 years, it looked brand new. So we said, okay, this works. And then we started making the wheels, and then now even entire cars with this methodology.
Well, I have to say, it looks incredible. The peak of engineering. I think we always hope for something special when coming to visit, and as always, this has done exactly that. So congratulations to yourself and the whole team.
Thank you. It's very much a team effort, and we have a wonderful team of simulators, engineers, designers coming together very passionately to take this to the next level. So very exciting for us.
What a car. What an amazing opportunity to come out here to Angelholm, Sweden to take a look around Sadairs' Spear with Christian von Koenigsegg. If you like videos like this, check out the one right over there. That's it for this time though, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.